Welcome to the Hidden Palace with Skyblaze.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are in the world. I am Skyblaze, and the Hidden Palace is back here on Radio Sega. I apologise for my absence the past few weeks. I've been a combination of being very, very busy and being quite ill. It's not been great, but starting to feel a bit better, so I thought you guys deserved a show. So now I've returned, we are going to continue looking into the Shining series, which I actually started, was that last year? It was quite a while ago, but I started talking about the Shining series, so I suppose I should probably finish. Last time I finished with talking about Shining Force Gaiden Final Conflict, not to be confused with the TV show Earth Final Conflict from the early 2000s. The particular games we'll be looking into also happen to share one other commonality apart from the Shining name. They were all released for the Sega Saturn. So I'm going to start off with Shining Wisdom, which released in Japan in 1995, with the European and North American releases coming in 1996. Those of you who follow the Radio Sega Twitch stream may have seen my husband Greyfall doing a full playthrough during last year. Was that last year? I thought that was earlier this year. He's not listening to me. So Shining Wisdom takes a different approach to its predecessors by going in with a more kind of action-adventure style, being somewhat like some of the Legend of Zelda games. So you play as only one character rather than the traditional turn-based combat where you control a group of characters and direct their action one at a time. So now that I've got my intro over with, I think we should probably have some music. Holy crap, Electric Boogaloo's managed to find a Earth Final Conflict GIF. Wow, that's a blast from the past. Anyway, we're going to have some music from Shining Wisdom. So the first one, these are actually both requests. So the first one is 5E Monkey, with an exclamation point at the end, and that was requested by Doan. And then we had also from Shining Wisdom Nove, which was requested by Electric Boogaloo. Nove I really like, because it actually has a kind of prog rock feel to it, which I enjoy, because I'm a prog rock nerd. So enjoy these tracks, and I'll speak to you after this music break to talk a bit more about Shining Wisdom. tell that that last track was prog inspired by how long it was. That was Shining Wisdom Nove. And before that we had from Shining Wisdom Monkey. And Nove was requested by Electric Boogaloo and Monkey was requested by Doan. So yeah, Shining Wisdom, you play as Mars, an orphan living with his grandparents who became a squire in the kingdom of Odegan, thanks to the great reputation that his father had as a knight. And while he's performing his daily duties, Mars stumbles upon a plot by the dark wizard Parzort, alright, where he plans on obtaining all of the mystical orbs necessary to summon the dark titan known as Sega. Good, well done, game. Carry on. After proving your worth in facing off against one of Parzort's subordinates, you're then tasked to get the remaining orbs in an effort to stop Parzort from achieving his goal. This game is in fact a sequel of sorts to Shining Force 2, being set a few years after the events of Shining Force 2, and as you progress through the game, the characters Sarah and Kazin, who were playable characters in Shining Force 2, make an appearance to aid you on your mission. The initial intention was for Shining Wisdom to be a Mega Drive game, but due to the late development, it was converted into a Saturn title instead. It was also the last game in the Shining series to have its music composed by Motoaki Takenouchi, who had been the series' longest-running composer. The game also has 2 different English translations for Europe and North America. The European version being handled by Sega Europe and would keep the translation as close as possible to the original Japanese, though it would contain quite a few grammatical and punctuation errors. The North American version, though, would be handled by Working Designs, oh dear, who made changes to the dialogue altering the personality of certain characters, and there would also be changes to the characters' names, although that was due to Sega of Japan holding the copyrights to those names and not keen on releasing them. I really don't understand. Sega of Japan during this era did some really, boneheaded decisions, and this was one of them. Anyway. Yeah, the cover of Shining Wisdom, the main character has, really spindly arms and legs. Stick arms, stick legs. Dawn says, in the Japanese version, Sega was Surtur, my favourite Norse mythology figure. That's pretty cool. Let's have some more music then. So, because this is related to Shining Force 2, I've got a couple of tracks from Shining Force 2. And the first was requested by VG Beats, so this is Shining Force 2 Headquarters, or HQ if you prefer. And the second is from the Ancient Ceiling Symphonic Suite for Shining Force 2, and this is Warrior of the Reviving Light. So I hope you enjoy those, and I'll speak to you again after this music break. And we are back. And that was Shining Force 2 Ancient Ceiling Symphonic Suite, Warrior of the Reviving Light. And before that we had also from Shining Force 2 HQ, or Headquarters, requested by VG Beats. So our next game takes us back to the traditional turn-based combat style, with Shining the Holy Ark, which was released in Japan in 1996 and in 1997 for European and North America. While it does return to the more traditional gameplay, the visuals have taken a step forward, being the first of the series to use 3D modelling for the characters and the environment. The story is set quite a long time after the events of the previous Shining Force games, and starts with 3 mercenaries named Arthur, Melody and Forte being hired by the King of Enric to capture a rogue ninja by the name of Rhodey. In the process of hunting Rhodey down, the mercenaries face off against him in a mine where unknown craft crashes through the ceiling, gravely injuring them. However, the 4 are soon healed after becoming possessed by 3 strange spirits. 3 good spirits who inhabit Arthur, Melody and Rhodey, and 1 evil spirit who takes control of Forte. The story then unfolds further as Arthur, Melody and Rhodey fight to stop the revival of the 1000-year kingdom, which threatens to return the world to an age of darkness. Along the way they meet a young boy called Julian, whose father had been killed by a figure known as Galm, who is a Vandal, an ancient race who ruled during the time of the 1000-year kingdom. This will become more important when we talk about our next game, or games, depending kind of how you look at it. The Shining series gets complicated. Resident SD saying, and now we know where the music for SMD's signal theory comes from. You've learned a thing. I am here to assist. What's this? I can't quite see what it is that Electric Boogaloo posted. What is this? Oh, it's a $10,000 contest for Shining Wisdom. Send a legible photograph or videotape showing the final status summary screen from the end of Sega Saturn action RPG Shining Wisdom, along with a 3x5 card or paper containing your name, address and phone number. Sadly, the deadline was the 1st of November 1996, so you're a bit out of luck if you want to get that money now. I wonder if anybody actually won that.
Sadly, I've not been able to find any information on that.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, Grey4 says Grey4 is really, really good at Google. His Google foo is really amazing, so he helps me with some of my research. And he couldn't find anything out about that. So it would be nice to know if anybody actually managed to claim that prize. If it was you, then send me a tweet or something, I guess. Resident SD is saying, I'm always learning things on this show, this is why I've missed it. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you so much, Resident SD. Resident SD works pretty hard because he's the one who formats and uploads the podcast version of my show, because I put it up in raw format and he messes with it to make sure it works properly. Also, shout out to Twinny, who works very, very hard doing the social media for the show. Quite a few other shows besides mine. Google for. There you go, love, that's your new name.
I'll put that in place after Christmas.
Yeah, fair enough. I should come up with a winter name for myself. I'll have to think about that one. So let's have some music from Shining the Holy Ark then. From Shining the Holy Ark, we've got Overworld Map and Battle. So I hope you enjoy those, and I'll speak to you guys again after this music break.
Hi, I'm Resident SD, host of Lion Live, and when it comes to boosting your Sega education, there's no better place than the Hidden Palace on Radio Sega.
And that was Shining the Holy Ark Battle, and before that we had, also from Shining the Holy Ark, the Overworld map theme. TCB is saying that they wish they could get into the Shining games, because the only one they've ever played was Shining Resonance Refrain. And I got a free copy of that, and I got about halfway into it and got bored. Because it does that thing that a lot of recent-ish JRPGs have done, where there's like quests you have to fulfill, but they require these like really rare drops, and you have to kind of go in and out of an area over and over again to try and farm for this one thing that you need. And it's so boring, and it's just such fake kind of longevity, and it really irritates me. The Neptunia series does this a little bit as well, but at least that's got kind of a lot of humour and lightheartedness to get you through it. The Shiny series doesn't really, the Shiny Resonance Refrain doesn't really. I should play some of the earlier games to see if they're better. I mean, I have a Saturn, so there's no reason I couldn't play them. I don't saying I hate that mechanic too. Yeah, it's so boring. It's such a fake way of extending the playtime. There's no need for it. Just make the game. I don't mind if it's a bit shorter, as long as it's actually fun. Don't make me grind things. It's dull. Anyway, our final game/games is Shining Force 3. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that, is because Shining Force 3 was released as 3 separate games, where you play through a story scenario centered around one character, but it's all part of the larger overarching plot. There's a slight problem with this, but I'll get to that later. These games are set 20 years after Shining the Holy Ark and were released over a 2-year period from 1997 through to 1998. While they were playable individually, they were best played in order of scenarios to get the most out of it. I'll go back to this in a moment. Scenario 1 sees you playing as Symbios, a young lord from the Republic of Aspinia, as he attends a peace conference with the Empire of Dystonia in the neutral city of Saraband. However, due to manipulation from outside forces, all-out war breaks out between Aspinia and Dystonia. Symbios' investigations into the causes of this leads him to discover a religious cult known as the Bulzome sect, who were the ones who manipulated the events that led to the war. He also crosses paths with the character of our next scenario, Medion, the youngest prince of Dystonia. Scenario 2 is set at the same time as the first, and Medion, like Symbios, uncovers the manipulations of the Bulzome sect while trying to understand the cause behind the new war. During this, he has to contend with rogue Aspinian forces and members of the Bulzome sect. As the second scenario nears its end, Medion faces off against Symbios, only for them both to be stopped by the hero of our third and final section, Julian. You know, the kid I mentioned in the Shining of the Holy Ark segment? Yeah, he's back. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Electrical is saying that Shining Force 1 and 2 is on the Sega Genesis Classic Collection on consoles and PC, so I probably have access to it somewhere. And Darn's saying, is there a mobile game coming up that doesn't look absolutely awful and yet covers the old Shining games? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Shining Force Gaiden 2, The Sword of Haja, is on the 3DS eShop for however long that continues to run. And Shining in the Darkness is also on that compilation. Which compilation? I assume you mean the Sega Genesis Classics one. And apparently Shining Force 1 is on the Nintendo Switch Online. Yeah, I've got a copy of the Genesis Classics, well, Mega Drive Classics collection over here. I think that's my copies on Steam. Don't you have to like unlock some of the games on that? Or am I thinking of something else? It's been a long week. Anyway, let's continue. So, oops, I forgot to loop the talk bread. So here we've got Shining Force 3, A Town Full of Life, and then The Dragon Graveyard, also from Shining Force 3. Enjoy, and I'll speak to you again about Scenario 3 after this.
Hello, my name is Gavi and you're listening to The Hidden Palace with Skyblaze on Radio Sega.
And we are back! And that was Shining Force 3, The Dragon Graveyard, and before that we had A Town Full of Life. Now then, back to Scenario 3, which I mentioned previously. This has you playing as Julian, who is trying to track down Garm, who he believes was responsible for the death of his father, who he was looking for in Shining the Holy Ark, which I mentioned previously. While looking for Garm, he joins Synbios after being thrown from a bridge after an encounter with Garm. Julian then washes up on a shore close to where Medion is currently in battle with some forces of the Bulzome sect. It's also in this scenario where we learn of Gracia, a child with powers akin to a god, who the Bulzome sect are planning on killing so that no one can stop them reawakening Bulzome, a vandal like Garm who ruled during the Thousand Year Kingdom before being sealed away. Julian takes on the task to protect Gracia so they can fulfill their destiny in stopping Bulzome. Now, as I mentioned, each game can be played separately. However, if you play them in order, you can actually transfer your save from each scenario, which allows you to transfer characters, items, and even the results from certain choices that you make throughout the games. This was not common in this era. I mean, it got increasingly common, like old save bonuses and things, as time progressed. Things like the first 4 Dot Hack games and the Mass Effect series would do this in later years. But this is one of the kind of early examples of that sort of thing. There was a bit of a problem, though. The 3 games were only fully released in Japan. Everywhere else only got the first scenario, so you only got a third of a game if you were in Europe or America. Not only that, but Sega of Japan announced that if you could provide proof of purchase of all 3 games, they would send you the Shining Force 3 Premium Disc, which included a variety of cool features, including a character viewer, artwork from the games, a special battle mode where you could play through pivotal moments in the Shining Force series as a whole, the means to make a backup of your Shining Force 3 save, and that lets you change the outcome from the choices you made, along with letting you rename all of your playable characters. And there's a movie viewer which shows off the CG movies from the game along with TV adverts, and finally the last feature is a sound test where you can listen to the music, sound effects and voices used in the game. But only if you were in Japan. Like I said, Sega of Japan made a number of boneheaded decisions in this era, and failing to translate and release the final 2 scenarios was kind of mad. Don't release only a third of a game, guys. It's not a great look. Thankfully, the last 2 scenarios are fully fan translated. So if you have a suitable emulator, there are fan translations out there. I assume there's some way of doing it on the original hardware as well, but I have not looked into that. Right. So some more music then. So one more track from Shining Force 3. We've got Emperor of Darkness, and then it's time for an OC remix. We've got from FF Music DJ and SGX, Shining Force 3, Force of Light. So I hope you enjoy those, and I'll be back after this music break for Chiptune Corner. And we are back, and that was Shining Force 3, Emperor of Darkness. And before that we had from FF Music DJ and SGX, Shining Force 3, Force of Light. And those are our friends over at Overclocked Remix. I did announce the songs in the wrong order before that music break, so I apologise for that one. So, it's Chiptune Corner time. I recently picked up a copy of the Nier Replicant remaster, so I was having a think about Nier Automata. I love that game, so I really wanted to play Nier Replicant to have a better understanding about the universe that is created within those games. And those who play the game will know that there are sections where you have to use one particular character's ability to hack in order to beat some enemies. And to add to the atmosphere when you're doing this, chiptune versions of part of the soundtrack are used when you're engaging in these little hacking minigames. I had a bit of a debate with myself over which track I was going to use, because there's quite a few kind of chiptune versions of various tracks. And the Nier Automata soundtrack is absolutely gorgeous in general. But in the end, I decided that I was going to go ahead and break the hearts of those who have actually played the game. So I went with Nier Automata, Weight of the World, Hacking Mix. So enjoy that. Let me know what you think. Cry endless tears if you've played the game to completion. And I'll be back after this to close out the show. it's nearly the end of the show. And that was Nier Automata, Weight of the World, the hacking mix. I hope I broke a few hearts there. So thank you ever so much for tuning in today. Sadly there is no SNS tonight, but be sure to be up bright and early tomorrow morning for Sega Sunrise. And of course we'll be having the LMC block and Rex's Sega Mixer Drive tomorrow evening. Be sure to go and check out the website for the full schedule. There is an event coming up later this month, and I don't know what I'm doing for it yet, so if you do have any ideas of topics that you want me to cover here on the Hidden Palace, you can get in touch with me through Twitter, where I am at Blazing Skies. You can reach me through Discord, where I am Skyblaze42, #5499, or you can reach me through the official Radio Sega Twitter or Facebook pages. You're not supposed to tell them, Twinny. It's supposed to be a surprise. I've been Skyblaze, and this has been the Hidden Palace here on Radio Sega. We've got one last track to go out on, and I've chosen something a bit more cheerful for the final track. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Good night.
Enjoyed the show? Check out the full Radio Sega live schedule at radiose.ga/shows. Radio Sega, playing the best Sega music 24/7.